Welcome everyone. Today we have our another new episode. We will discuss about advanced robotics. Even just half an hour before I finish one of my classes with the developing world students, and we just share how actually supply chain work, as well as how actually in the project management robotics can play a role in the futures. We have our world famous speaker, Mr. Marshall, and he actually expert of impact investment, expert of technology, and his corporation actually doing excellent job. Already we are start our collaborations in Asia Pacific with different bank, with different corporations, with governments, and there is another good news. In June, we want to arrange a very special uh, summit on impact investment. We already discussing with few developing nations prime minister office, and hopefully the prime minister office with their responsible person they will join. And beside that, Mr. Marshalls and our corporation we collaborate, and we will bring more effective solution for developing nations. So, like country like Bangladesh, country like Maldives or Indonesia, those who have a lot of challenges for climate change, hopefully Mr. Marshall Corporation and his team can support us a lot. So, Mr. Marshall, what you want to share? Already you get huge popularity through your debate, through your dialogues in World Talent Economy Forum.
Well, Sharif, thank you very much for having me again on a panel here about robotics. But just to follow on with your introduction, yes, impact investing has changed since COP26, and there's a form of a new asset class that has been created for this, and it's risk mitigated for both the banks and for the nations. And we'll be discussing that, I believe, next Wednesday, and we will be bringing one of our subject matter experts, some other panelists, to discuss the public-private partnerships connected to impact investing through the GFANZ network, which is really not the money, but that's the network of people who can bring the money and allocate those funds to central banks in the developing world, and so that we can form joint ventures under a climate bond. So it's the climate bond investors that will actually pay for this work and get this opportunity out there. What kind of work will they be paying for? Well, actually, it's the triple bottom line of creating jobs, healthcare, education. That's one leg of the stool. The other, that's the social impact component. The other leg of the stool will be the environmental impacts. In other words, improving air quality by reducing GHG emissions, improving water quality, improving soil health, improving livestock health, and reducing zoonotic diseases, the kind that we're experiencing now and have experienced in the past. In addition to that, the third leg would obviously be profit. We need to create a profit so we can pay people good jobs and capabilities, and give them the support they need so they can put their kids and their children and grandchildren through school and educate them. In order to do that, today's subject matter, which is called robotics, there's several kinds of robotics that I've experienced personally. One is the robotic technology that allows us to automate certain processes that are common now, been common in many developed nations, like Japan was one of the first back in the 70s and 80s to create robotics and for manufacturing. There is also of that people don't always talk about, but it has to do with what is typically called robotic process automation. It's a form of business process automation technology, and it's based on what we would call metaphorical software, otherwise known as robots, but we all know them as bots. Everybody knows in social media the bot concept, and that's using artificial intelligence essentially in software. So there is a connection between the hardware of being able to manufacture and put things together. Also, if you go to an Amazon facility, you can see on the internet today Amazon facilities. They give you tours and they show these robots, automatic, going around on the floor like people, but they're robots and they're moving packages from one destination to another. And it's all using artificial intelligence software. But you still need people. This is my mission and my message to everybody that's watching. We need to create high paying, good quality jobs, safe jobs for people around the world, especially in developing world nations. The developing world nations, this is our opinion and our point of view. If we do the triple bottom line, if we bring education, healthcare, and good paying jobs to people in the developing nations, we create a middle class which creates wealth and creates more wealth than anybody can create in any other form. Dictators can't do it. Autocrats can't do it. They can suck up the wealth themselves, but they can't spread it around. They don't do it. They're fearful of that. So what we need to do is we need to create a middle class in the developing world. And places like Malaysia and other countries that Sharif has mentioned are perfect candidates for this opportunity. India, as we know, is one of the largest democracies in the world, and it's probably the second most populous nation in the world. So anywhere we make an effort to do that, we will be ahead of the game in this process. And so robotics plays a heavy role because it frees up human capital to do better things with their time and space. So that's my 2 cents to begin with.
Thank you. Thank you for your excellent analysis. Mr. Adam, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Adam, can you open your camera and share your views about advanced robotics?
My camera is on.
No.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. Oh, can you see me now? Can you see me now? Can you hear me?
No. No.
Oh, no. Can you see me? Hello?
No, I cannot see you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I don't hear
Yes.
him. I don't
Oh,
know.
no.
Now I can see you.
Hello? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello,
Mr.
can you
Adam,
hear me?
Mr. Adam, I can hear you.
You can or you can't?
I can.
Let me.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, sorry. Robotics. First, I just wanted to agree with what Marshall was saying about the middle class, and because it certainly seems at the moment that with the current climate, the middle classes are under threat a little bit. And the very interesting very interesting topic as well, robotics. It brings to mind several different key areas like automation and miniaturization, man-machine interfaces, Industry 4.0. So we'll talk a little bit about automation, and that raises the questions of
Sharif, perhaps they should log out and log back in. I see Talib is on. I don't see his picture, and I see he's muted, but I think his connection is not circling around.
Yes,
Hugh
yes.
is circling around, but Talib
Yes.
is. So maybe we go to Talib. Your choice.
Professor Ching.
Yes.
We are discussing about advanced robotics. So, what you want to share with our audience, especially about advanced
Good
robotics?
morning. I have some slide. Actually, our group has already made a complete presentation on robotics. See, but this is a technical presentation. Do you want to see some of the slides?
Yes, sure. You can share with our audience.
Okay, can I get into my... Wait a minute. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Okay, can you see my screen?
No, I cannot.
Can you switch to my Windows screen or do?
No, I think you just continue like Mr. Marshall.
Yeah.
Then you just continue.
Okay, I can read for you some,
Yeah, sure.
top-down significance. Okay, the problem of touch, or originally known as the contact problem, was not solved by Isaac Newton, Robert Hooke, Henry Hertz, and all the scientists for 300 years since Newton. The problem of prolonged contact in sport was solved by the father of pole science, Hugh Qin, and the Chinese father of physics, Dai Wu, who coined the word jump pulse to denote a sudden change of force, as impulse is a sudden change in momentum. The solution to prolonged contact shares the same physics as that of touch and has predicted double hitting, which was legalized in tennis 1982, in table tennis 2004, and in golf 2019. Japanese sixth-generation computer science robotics failed because
Can you hear him? I can't hear anything.
You cannot hear anything.
I can hear.
Oh, I hope
Mr.
the
Marshall.
audience can. I can't hear him.
Yes.
He's just spinning around on my screen.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was saying Japanese sixth-generation robotics failed because robots could not touch. A robot finger bounces off a surface like a ball bounces off a racket. Self-manufactured general-purpose robots with the ability of touch will be able to replace all human physical and routine works. Okay, this is what you people are talking about. Driveless, gyro-stabilized, very light, no-wheel concept cars with all 6 sides protected by fuzzy jump pulse AI shock absorbers will eliminate all bounces and protect the passenger from fatal collisions. Fuzzy jump pulse AI sensing landing and docking system for rockets will allow soft, no bounce landing and the soft and the efficient docking. This is the significance. And the basic principles are: 1, changing universe Newtonian mechanics claims that changes originate from force, which is the bottom-up principle. Okay, Newtonian mechanics describe robotics. No stationary coordinate system. In the coordinate system of the solar system, all coordinate systems on Earth are not stationary. No matter. We never detect matter except through force produced by fields. No time. We never detect time except through motion. So this is lawless physics. Fuzzy logic with finite range of tolerance replaces exact logic with zero range of tolerance as the most basic bottom-up knowledge, and the invariant of nature with specific range of validity or tolerance replace the Newtonian law of nature. Law of touch or Ching's law, all spatial derivatives of time equal higher than acceleration can change instantaneously. And finally, jump pulse. Jump pulse is coined by Dai Wu, who denote the instantaneous change of force with the unit of weight unit, where 1 Wu equal to 1 Newton. Okay, here's the double hitting picture. Here's the terminology of motion. You see where jump pulse is versus impulse. Okay, if you can see the graph, the graph you probably cannot see, so I just range your tolerance of prolonged contact. So in other words, it's not a trivial question, and we are the only people who address the technical aspect of create a robot which can replace human labor.
Thank you, Professor Ching.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Ching. I will come back to you. Professor Talib, Can you hear me? We are discussing about advanced robotics. So, what's your view about advanced robotics?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, can you hear
Can you
me?
hear me? Can you
Yes.
hear me? Okay. What about what the question is?
About robotics. What will be the future of robotics?
Okay. Human beings have created robotics. Robotics will remain robotics. They will never invade the human turf. This is my view. I think the fear from robotics are unjustified because robotics don't have feelings. Human beings are about feelings, feeling of justice, feeling of being a human. Robotics can't do that. I think what we heard from our friends from Japan, it's very true because what is happening there is a taming of the robotics. That's what I feel now.
Yes. Sir, you are also responsible for World Tourism Organizations. Uh, so, sir, what do you think, especially in the COVID-19 situation, the tourism industry, they will utilize more robot, more AI for continue their business and economic activities? What do you think?
Hello.
Professor Talib. Yes.
Yes, I couldn't hear the last part of the
Yes.
question.
My last question is actually, what do you think in the COVID-19 situation, in this COVID-19 situations, uh, like different tourism industry, let's say hotel industries and other industry, they will utilize more robot for economic sustainability, or what do you think?
Yes, I think they will use more robots. The whole world will be using more robots, and that's okay. To me, it's okay. I think the robots are going to remain robots, and the hospitality industry is using them now for services. It's good for that because they can hygiene them. They're cleaning the rooms. They're going around. They can be good elements. There's no way we can stop the robot from developing, and this is a fact. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor. Mr. Marshall, there are some questions from audience. I think that if you give the detailed analysis, especially Noor Fazrin, she asked, what are the negative side of advanced robotics? And I know that you are running a Waste Management Corporation. Definitely, supply chain is a very important thing. So what do you think? Is it negative that if we utilize more robot for supply chain management, or you have different views?
So thank you, Sharif. It's a great question from Noor. It's like anything else in life. You can use tools for medicine. You can use tools for harm. The same tools for medicine can be used for harm. So one has to be mindful that it's up to people ultimately to determine whether something is negative or positive, or they are used that way.
Absolutely.
One of the
Yes.
things that I would articulate is that if people have good intentions, and that's a big if because not everybody does, but if we're talking about a good intentions to help people become the best that they can be, to grow into themselves, help their children grow, get educated, robotics plays a major role in that effect. As I was discussing before, the physical robots that we've seen at Amazon that you can look at, if you ever tour an Amazon site virtually or even go to one, you'll see these robots running around and they're taking the load off of people. And people say, well, I'm not going to get paid for that job. I'm going to lose that job. That's absolutely, in my opinion, been played false. That goes all the way back to the invention of the railroads around the world when they were first introduced into society. People thought that railroads would take away jobs from people that were shuttling people by buckboard or by stagecoach. It turned out that it created more jobs. In this case, robots do take away a lot of the tasks, that especially the mundane tasks that can be done by robots that people don't have to do, and they can devote their energy to better efforts. So I think the technology itself is not the problem. It's people is always the problem. We need people to be able to step up to the plate and engage in a positive format and use technology for the benefit of mankind and not to subjugate mankind. If we do that, then I think we're off to a good start. But as history has shown throughout the centuries, technology could be used for good and bad. So if everybody on this watching this panel, their intentions are to help mankind, then we will be successful. It takes everybody, especially in today's pandemic, especially in today's climate crisis, to be able to get on board, because dictators cannot assassinate the climate crisis. It's just not possible. They may do that to animals and other species and people, but they can't do it to the climate crisis. We need all people on deck to move the climate crisis in the right direction, get rid of the crisis, save people's lives, create jobs, create opportunities, and robotics plays a role in that function. Whether it's the robots, the physical robots, or the robot that I described in the beginning of the show, which is typically used, by the way, you see it in social media. We call them bots, but they're really robots. It's robotic software. And so those are the two functions that need to play a role in helping move this forward. So my answer to Noor is it negative? It can be if people use it in a negative. It's like any tool. But if we use surgery to help people, then that's positive, right? So if we use robotic techniques and technology and software and hardware to help people get more done and create better quality jobs and better education, on that question.
Thank you, Professor Talib. One of the important aspect, like right now, like especially healthcare system is in challenging situation. Even there is a shortage of healthcare worker, including nurse and doctors. What do you think? Like in this challenging moment, we can utilize more robot, or we should more focus on educated human being and prepare them as a healthcare worker. What is your view?
It's not an either or situation. I think we should continue on developing robots. I think what we heard now from the professor is very correct. It's not the problem with the robots, not the problem with the technology. The problem is how we use this technology. So I think, yes, we can utilize better health service through robots. We need to engage with robots in a positive way. And the human beings are the ones to blame. If something goes wrong, nobody else. Robots are not going to take the place of man. They will not. They're not intelligence. Their intelligence is in our hands as human beings. I therefore am very much for the development of robots, because I'm for the development of technology. That's what I believe in. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor. Professor Ching,
Yeah.
from Mehdi Hassan, there is a question. Mehdi Hassan, what is the major impact of robotic on other industries? Like different industries impact, if you share with our audience.
Well, the overall picture is that all the audience. I don't think they have the answer. I tend to disagree with all your speakers. Okay, basically, let's face it. Let's have the whole all the facts on the table. Okay, machine and robots should not be allowed to compete with human labor. Today, in this money-oriented society, machines compete in the industry. Since the Industrial Revolution, we don't even need to talk about robotics. Machines and robots compete with human labors. Okay, this is true, you see, and the people owns the robots will be the richest, and the other people may lost their job. It is happening today. You see, today with robotics, with all these machines coming on board, we already see the richer become richer, the poor is poor. Okay. In other words, we have a system, we have a economic system which is anti-human. It's not set up correctly. The correct system will be a knowledge-oriented society. So human will get the universal basic income. Okay. This is the way future will happen. And also the money supply will increase through funding innovative research. Okay, the research, one of the most important research is what we're talking about. It's the develop a self-manufactured general purpose robot with the ability of touch. So it will take over all the human labor, routine work. Okay, humans supposed to be thinking. Robot do the work. Okay, human do the thinking. Okay, this is the way it's set up. And this self-manufactured, self-general-purpose robot will eventually be developed. It will be developed by complete automated software. Okay, so ultimately, the software will become DNA, and the robot will become human. In other words, human beings are in the process of create itself. Okay, we think the robot, this is the creational process. Okay, this is the rational thinking. Okay, instead of the speaker, you have to now are all speaking about science. Okay, we need to go into pole science. I'm the founder of pole science. I do not see the way that is going on is the way of the future. The way of the future is human being is going to study DNA, study complete automated software. They will be able to create themselves. Okay, the creation of process will be follow this robotic path. We will first create self-manufactured general purpose robot. The robot will create themselves, but one of the big hurdle is the problem of touch. Okay, human being cannot touch. Human being can touch, but no robot can touch. Even today. Okay, this is a problem 300 years ago Newton couldn't solve. See, because they couldn't solve that problem, you see, they switched from the mainstream problem of the mainstream contact problem to wave mechanics. You see, Hamiltonian to waves, and they avoid this problem for 300 years. And now our group solved this problem of touch. Once you solve the problem of touch, the robot can come in safely into contact with the environment. You see, today we build, no machine can safely come into contact with the environment. Okay, the way to come into contact with the environment is to touch the environment. You got to come into contact. Okay, this is a difficult problem. We watch the rockets. When they land, they just landed in a very clumsy fashion. They should making a soft landing. Okay, with this touch problem. When two spacecraft docking, they took 5-6 hours to dock. It shouldn't take that long. Human being touch 1,000 times per day. A human being knows how to touch. Robot cannot touch. So people today are in the scientific age, which is very backward, in talking about things like robot self-creation. You see, this is destiny. Let's not talk too much about just human beings. Okay, the whole universe has much more intelligence than what we realize. We should be eventually in a position to contribute to the universal intelligence. Okay, which is further develop DNA, further develop the living system, and this self-centered view in us is not it's something we disagree. So basically, I disagree with all your speakers.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. No, this is important. Actually, all of them actually agreeing with you that everyone, Professor Talib actually has a long history for developing nations. He also contribute for develop in knowledge-based communities. Mr.
yeah,
Marshall, he has an excellent organizations. He also trying to develop a knowledge-based communities. Everyone trying. We need more contributions. Maybe we need to work hard. We need to work together. That is the objective. Mr. Marshall, there are some interesting aspects actually come from the audience, especially. Uh, I think this is very relevant with you because Alea want to know how does advanced robotics work in production and logistics.
Well, Sharif, that's a good question. And in our company, I can't speak for other groups, but our mission is climate restoration and climate repair, as I remind everybody every time I'm on. And in that mission, that's our mission, and that's our primary objective. Robotics is a tool. Robotics plays a role, in my opinion, and Professor Ching can disagree with me. I encourage he disagrees with me so we can have a conversation about it. But in my experience, and in the experience of my family, as a matter of fact, we use automation and robotics and to help move things along and free up human capital. That's the way we look at it for better purpose. I do agree with Professor Ching in the fact that the economic models that we have today tend to favor the most extreme wealthy, and that's why I said in my opening remarks, which I don't think Dr. Ching heard, is that the purpose is to create a greater wealth among people and not amongst an elite few. But to go back to the question that you're posing, is that robotics plays a big role in logistics to move waste. We take waste and we convert that waste into three things: a form of material known as char or biochar, some people refer to it. We also convert it into thermal energy, and we convert it into a gas, GHG emission called syngas, which we can actually turn and create into a non-polluting energy. So there's a lot of opportunity here to use robotics to move those things along and to free up the human capital to do important jobs that only humans can do and that robots cannot do. I do agree with Professor Ching when he talks about the fact that technology doesn't touch, not yet. I do know that there are efforts by others, not by us, that are trying to do what we call biotic or biological robots that combines not necessarily human cells, but other cells to be able to create that touch capability. I haven't seen any success in it. But as far as the logistics and movement of technology, of what we're doing, we take that material, convert it into those basic products, which we then convert again using both human capital and robotics and artificial intelligence to create environmental products that actually lower GHG emissions, and also increase soil health and increase water quality. And without the humans, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Robotics only has a role to play in terms of things that humans, it might be dangerous for them to do, or it could expose them to danger. robotics can help alleviate that. So that's my take on the question: how does robotics, both the software and the hardware side, play a role currently in turning a waste into an opportunity for humans to create value, create jobs, create healthcare, create education, and create a level playing field that Dr. Ching would like to see, and we would like to see that too. We totally agree with him on that, and I agree with him that the current economic model doesn't necessarily tend to favor that. So we're trying to help change that, and I would welcome Dr. Ching along with Professor Talib to help us move that along, and anybody else out there. So the mission is climate restoration, climate repair, because time is of the essence. And humans cannot necessarily act fast enough like the programs that we create from computing and things like that. But humans are at the control level. That's our opinion. And so we need to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Professor Talib, I'm actually a big fan of your leadership, especially how you manage different organizations with your experience. This is actually very good example for politician. Beside that, in the futures, because few of our audience want to know how actually robotics will change the future work environment. Uh, what do you think that future politicians, those who develop policy, they have to uh, like take extra cares about industry 4.0, about artificial intelligence, about robotics, or uh, it will be challenging for their leadership. uh, what do you think, because
No,
politics
no.
play a major role?
I don't think even Professor Chang disagrees with us. I think what Dr. Marshall said is very correct. We humans are creators of everything. Let me go back to the example that Professor Chang did say about the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution was a must. Could not avoid it. Could not run away from it. It did replace some labor force with some machines, but there were new jobs that were created as a result of that. And I think we're passing just through a new phase of technology, just robotic technology. That's it. I don't think it has anything to do with politics or management, because managers are humans, policy makers are humans, and robots are not going to be humans. I'm not afraid of robots at all. I'm not worried about it, Professor Chair. I would like to disagree with you on that, but I agree with you on your conclusion that the robots cannot touch. That's precisely why. No technology can touch. Technology is man made, and technology is made by humans, and it could be stopped by humans, it could be limited by humans. That's what we need to do. We need to take away the danger of some of the labor work that is done by men and transform it into robotic tasks. But the creation of the robots itself and the technology that's with it creates more jobs to start with. So I'm not worried about that at all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Talib. Very interesting discussions. I want to ask you more questions because this is also relevant. Let's say in World Talent Economy Forum tomorrow we have very interesting debate. Also in the future we want to arrange debate in between human and artificial intelligence. We have corporations from uh, I think there is internet collection. So I think Professor Ching can respond. So we are also organizing debate in between AI and human. So what do you think? Like human capacity, what you are discussing about knowledge-based economy, what you are discussing about knowledge-based society. So do you believe this knowledge-based society actually uh, can overcome from this challenging situation when robotics and AI take place in different industry?
I lost you, Sharif. I lost the last part of your.
Yes. Yes, actually, we are discussing on that particular points like uh, when we working in this challenging moment, especially have debate tomorrow, as well as we will arrange debate in between AI and human. AGI Lab, we have the CEO of AGI Lab. They are developing AI the AI can contribute in policy development. This is their objective. So that like AI can integrate it with the policy development. It's mean politics also AI can integrate it. So what do you think? Like in the futures, uh, politicians has to face a lot of challenges, or uh, like they can survive. From
Of
our
course, they will
understanding,
survive. Of course,
okay,
they will survive. They will even use this technology, the AI technology, to enhance their decision. At the end of the day, the decisions are human decisions. Policies are decision making. Politicians are decision makers. And
exactly.
decisions are made by human beings, not by robots, not by the technology. Actually, technology can help, just like a chart helps, just like a movie helps, just like a photograph helps. But that's not what politics is all about. Politics is about taking decisions that are the well-being of mankind, and only humans can do that.
Yes, Professor, I know that you are an excellent politician, honest politician. You inspire me a lot and inspire many people in World Talent Economy Forum. Still, I have a question, because when we are observing many politicians, not you, many politicians, they are highly involved with corruption, highly involved with manipulating the system. In that situation, if technology come, if technology take place, do you think it can create win-win situation in between people and politicians, or what do you think? Definitely you are a good politician. Definitely you are inspiration for me at least. So what is your observation?
Thank you, Sharif. Thank you for something I don't deserve. But I tell you, corruption and ill willness is human. All of that is human. It's not technology. Technology will not help you become more less corrupt or more corrupt. Technology is technology. Technology only helps you do things that you need to do anyhow. Mechanical things, labor things, not the thinking. Artificial intelligence is not to replace man's intelligence at all. Man cannot be replaced by anybody. This is my belief.
Thank you, Professor Ching. I think Professor Talib also agree with you. He also thinking more knowledge-based society. Mr. Marshall also developing a knowledge-based society. So, what is your blueprint for developing this knowledge-based society? Because everyone actually trying to develop this knowledge-based society. What exception you have that that can contribute more for knowledge-based community development?
Well, I used to have 10 the top thinkers in the world as my mentors. Okay, the 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 the, the ones you probably know are Lofty Sadeh, father of fuzzy logic, Milton Friedman, eco- economics, the champion of free market. Okay, Kenneth Arrow, you know,
What happened
all
to them?
they all passed away.
Okay.
They just passed away recently. Okay, so I'm sort of talking a little bit harsh, is it right now? Because I accumulate all their knowledge, and I tell you, there's no solution of touch, no solution of software or AI, and no solution of value. So we don't have any solution. Okay, a robot should be defined as an intelligent machine which can touch, which can safely come into contact with the environment. Once we have this self-manufactured robot, general purpose robot, we should be able to make enough things for the whole human race. Okay, then we should give every human being some money, resource to survive. Okay, unless they can contribute, build innovative project, unless they can think something innovative, or they should just relax, okay, share the wealth. work of the robots. Okay, that is the knowledge-oriented society. Today we are halfway there. We have humans substitute for robots. Okay, work should be done by robots, but it's done by human today. Okay, so you know, I disagree because basically I do disagree. Okay, you know, today's labor are robot substitute, but we don't have robots because robot cannot come into contact with the environment. What, you know, they do things. Okay, they do things. They are just intelligent machines. Okay. So basically, that is what why I'm just coming out to say I object on in terms of knowledge. Okay, in terms of politics, in terms of other things, we like to change from politics-oriented society to money-oriented society to finally to knowledge-oriented society. Today, we don't have a knowledge-oriented society. Okay, politicians like to get money and fight wars. Okay, you know, Milton Friedman come out say, okay, let middle class rule the society. Now we have billionaires control all the money and all the talk. Okay, people like us, we deal with knowledge. People are not interested in our knowledge, except maybe you. You know, but we are. I don't think we have. I think we have a good audience. We have a lot of followers. Okay, and we are. You know, my mentors just passed away recently, so you know, I have many students who are very young. Okay, and they will eventually make an impact on society. And the direction is what we're talking about is we should be talking about knowledge-oriented society versus today's money-oriented society. That is what you basically you should have. We should be talking about. Let's settle that one first. And money should be used to support innovations, another support human thinking, to create robots which will do all the work. Okay, and we should not be afraid of robots, separate robot from human, because we keep developing this robot with complete automated software. This robot will become human, and the software used to develop will become DNA. Okay, we can create human, but today's life science is using the method of science, use the empirical method. I disagree with that. I think we should have a logical life science, whereas life science should be more like a computer science with the source code, with DNA as the source code, rather than today, you know, all this life science, they go through lots and lots of experiments. And they think this experiment will help us understand life. Well, that's not true. Okay. To design life, you have to think like a computer scientist. Okay, you have to think logically. And these life scientists have no logical training. Okay, you try to introduce some innovation into life science, they reject you. Okay, they cannot understand anything dealing with logic. So it's a waste of time to even, you know, for us to talk to life scientists. But we do influence them. Once we talk to them, they got softer and they start to accept computer science. But computer science today are incorrect. Okay, they're partially automated software. Eventually, we have so much partially automated software, we're heading into a complexity crisis. Today already we have complexity. We cannot control our software. Software has to update manually. It take a permanent infinite cost to automate manually. It has to be solved by. It has to have the solution complete automated software, and I have that patent. You see, 1996. And I tried to introduce to life scientists. They couldn't understand this, and they are actually fighting with computer scientists. You know, in the early days, they just completely hostile toward computer science. Now, you know, they have to compromise because AI is approaching life. So they see that the computer scientists creating things more like human than the life scientists. We are not going we are not in society to argue with them. We are actually teaching them as much as we can. But if they refuse to accept, so what can we do? I teach my students, and eventually we're going to challenge everybody. You see,
Thank
so
you.
basically, this is what why I disagree with views from the scientific age. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. This is really great discussion, especially we can understand that we have to develop a knowledge-based society. But I'm sure, like all of the speaker, like Mr. Marshall, Professor Talib, even Mr. Chings, and those who are observing our show, everybody trying to develop a knowledge-based society. So when we discuss about knowledge-based society, we have to define properly what is what in what does it mean to me, the knowledge-based society. Definitely we have to define a specific road for a nations, because I define something which is not clear for our audience, it create confusions. So I believe that it's my understanding everybody actually trying to develop a knowledge-based society, everybody contributing, even this dialogue also a part of developing a knowledge-based society. So thank you, Mr. Professor Ching, Mr. Marshall, Professor Talib, for your continuous support for World Talent Economy Forum. Especially tomorrow we have a debate session, and I'm sure many famous speakers from around the world, they will join in the debate sessions. Professor Talib, you can join as a debate analyst in
Sorry,
our
Sharif,
debate
I
session.
cannot hear you at all.
Okay, so like it will be very popular, I'm sure, because already we are working with different famous university. They like our last debating activities. So hopefully this is one kind of model we are trying to develop for the developing world, because debating at least brings some good knowledge for our audience. So thank you everyone, and I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible with your government, with your corporation, and with academy. Now I directly want to go for the concluding remarks. First, I request Mr. Marshall, what's your concluding remarks?
So my concluding remarks are kind of like my intro remarks, but in reaction to
I cannot hear.
I think
I cannot hear
Professor Ching
Marshall.
is
I
having
cannot hear
problems with
Sharif.
connection. As you can hear, Professor Ching cannot hear, so he's having some problems. But unfortunately, he's not going to be able to hear my remarks. But basically, maybe he'll hear it on the recording. But basically, I agree with him about Milton Friedman's approach. He came out with his approach in 1970. And in the 1980s, he came out with the concept that the sole social responsibility of the firm, of any corporation, is to maximize profits, leaving ethical questions to individuals and governments. I totally disagree with that. A lot of people have disagreed with that since then, including some of his students, such as the Nobel laureate Oliver Hart at Harvard and Chicago Booth's Luigi Zingales, who is from the Booth School of Business, from which Friedman came from. So that the Friedman school of thought is outdated today, especially after the pandemic. All the more important, Professor Ching has pointed out that technology doesn't touch, and the difference between technology and humans is really significant. My own family, my father invented the thermal barrier window back in the late 50s, early 60s. And the thermal barrier window was great, but it helped save lives because people were putting windows up in high rises and they were popping out and falling down 60 stories and killing people. His window prevented that. But the point is, how he did that was, at the time, was a combination of human labor and some robotic labor back even in the late 50s and early 60s. But the point is, it's human nature, it's human direction, it's human intention that really solves the problem. People ask me about biochar all the time. It can be used in over 100,000 products and services. But the question is that really the issue? That's like asking a surgeon if he uses a scope. Does he use, if I have to have brain surgery, do I care what kind of scope the surgeon uses as long as the surgeon is knowledgeable? He's using a robotic tool. Robotics are used for surgery, for heart surgery, for neurosurgery, for all kinds of surgery that they couldn't perform and save lives for if they didn't use robotics. So to dismiss robotics altogether because there's no touch, in my opinion, is actually a false premise. The real premise is it's the human premise. It's the human doctor that's conducting, along with his team of anesthesiologists, of other nurse practitioners, other people, to be able to reach out and save lives using a robotic technology, using artificial intelligence. There is good for it. There's just as well bad for it. So it's up to humans to make the difference. So I request all the people watching this to engage in a triple bottom line approach, that you put people first, environment second, and profits last. And that is against Milton Friedman's premise that the shareholders only come first with their profits. That is part of the responsibility. It's the triple bottom line, which, by the way, was created by a professor out of Purdue University in the 1990s. Forgive me, I can't remember his name, but he's very famous. We could look him up on the internet. But the point is, the triple bottom line is the approach to business that businesses are engaging in. They're calling it ESG, environment, social responsibility, and government. And they're having arguments about this now. What is ESG? What are the standards? What prevents greenwashing? Greenwashing meaning people are lying about what they're claiming to do. And technology plays a role in this. And artificial intelligence plays a role in this. But ultimately, it's human responsibility that means that we need to make the decisions ultimately for people and improve their quality of life. If that's our mission, and if Dr. Ching will join with us in that mission, we would be better off along with Professor Talib and others. So I welcome everybody to join us. Time is of the essence. The planet can't wait. Well, the planet can wait, but the people can't wait, because the climate crisis is here and it's scientifically known, and we know what the outcomes are coming, but we can mitigate those outcomes. And artificial intelligence robotics will help us in that role. And that's my concluding remarks. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank everybody.
Thank you.
And I'm honored to be on with Professor Ching and Professor Talib.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Professor Talib, what's your concluding remarks and what your advice for World Talent Economy Forum? I cannot hear you. Professor Talib.
I think he has to reestablish this connection, because I can see him, but I can't hear him.
Yes. Professor Talib, can you hear me? I think he's trying to join again. So definitely, this is very important, that what you are discussing about triple bottom line: people first, product second, profit third. This will be another important strategy for the corporations. So definitely, we want to improve human lives, and I think Dr. Talib also joined. Professor Talib. Sorry, I cannot hear you, Professor. I think there is some internet issues. Mr. Marshall, like from your side, especially if you analyze more about this triple bottom line, this is very clear for me before Mr. Talib joined with us just
Well, while Professor Talib is reestablishing his connection, I'll just make another statement, and that is the issue of technology has always been an issue with humankind from the beginning, from the invention of the wheel.
Mhm.
Okay, so somebody's asked, what is the major impact of robotics in other industries? Robotics plays a role in other industries. Automobile manufacturing is one of the ones that is well known out of Japan. Farming is beginning to use it. We call it ag tech, AGTECH, agricultural technology. So ag tech plays a role in the use of automation and artificial intelligence to help farmers make better use of their resources, especially land, soil biome, and water. So robotics plays a role in that. And there's lots of different technologies out there that are being brought to the market today. And anybody that wants to know more about that can connect with me. I can share with them lots of different technologies. We were part of a group based in California called Silicon Valley Ag Tech. We were in the second cohort of that back in 2014, 2013. It was run by Roger Royce, who is a well-known attorney in Silicon Valley, but he also was a big proponent of agriculture. He grew up in Montana, so he grew up on a farm, and he had firsthand experience of having to bring the crops back into out of the field into the marketplace. And there's a lot of loss in that process. So what robotics does is it reduces the loss. It reduces the human fallacies that we bring to the table by helping us automate certain processes. But ultimately, again, I say it's up to people to make the difference. People, planet, profits. That's the order we need to be in. And I can't say it enough. And I think we need to take action now. We need to be practical now. We can be theoretical. It's great to be theoretical. There's a lot of theories that leads to lots of innovations. But ultimately, right now, the planet needs us. People need us, actually, more than the planet. People need us to help them avert this planetary crisis that we're having with GHG emissions, with temperature rise, and with pollution that is man-made, ultimately. So that's my take.
Thank you. Professor Talib, what's your
Can you
conclusion?
hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I 100% am with Professor Marshall in what he said. I think humans are humans and robots are robots. If we mix them together, we're in fault because robots were created by humans. Humans take decisions. That's the most important part of a human being. Not just a touch, not just the humanity, the decision making. So what Professor Marshall said is absolutely correct. That robots can help us reduce the labor force, the labor effort on humans, which is what the Industrial Revolution did 300 years ago, 400 years ago. It did reduce the dependency on human beings when it comes to physical labor, but not to thinking. And there were no less jobs. There are more jobs now than there were 300 years ago, for sure. There will be more jobs in the future. I'm not with Professor Chang in his pessimistic view of the robots, because robots cannot control us as human beings. We are the ones that take the decision. We have to continue to be like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. This is really great discussion, and I'm sure this will be very helpful for our audience. Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Thank you, Professor Talib, for joining today's session. Thank you. Bye-bye. And take care. Tomorrow we have an excellent debate sessions. So I will invite you all. So hopefully it will be a very interesting session.
Okay.
Bye-bye and take care.
Thank you, Sharif. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Sharif. Bye-bye, Dr.
Bye.
Professor
Bye,
Talib,
Bye.
and everyone else. Have
Bye-bye,
a good
Marshall.
holiday. Happy New Year.